All right, welcome to the Tom Ozone podcast, Beyond the Blind. I'm joined, as usual, by Bill Brown, Brad Allen, and we have a very special guest today, professional outdoor videographer and photographer, all the way from Florida. We have Brenton Roberts. How's it going, man? Nice to meet you.
What's going on? Nice to meet you and Bill and Brad.
Good to see you guys. Good to see you.
Thanks for having me on. Super cool.
Yeah, you guys obviously have met before. You've spent some time with this crew of hardcore waterfowlers, have you not?
Yeah. I was fortunate enough to tag along with them up there in Maine with you guys, and sea ducks. We would shoot a couple divers, black ducks, all the fun. Ate some lobster. You gave us the true royal treatment.
Was that really your first black duck?
That was really my first black duck.
Oh, you got your first black duck up here in Maine. That's cool.
Yeah. Plus, all ducks are cool, but I like black ducks because mottled ducks are my favorite, and I feel like they're very similar. Obviously, subspecies of a mallard. So stoked to do that.
And we took you to Bufflehead Alley. That was quite a day.
Yeah. Oh yeah.
You shoot with Brad was Brad fencing with us that trip?
He was.
Yeah. So you got to watch a shooter shoot.
Oh yeah. No, Brad's a stone cold killer. He's awesome.
He's a great
someone
guy.
I totally look up to.
Oh, he's a great guy.
Well, it was an editorial trip through Mossberg. Linked up with everybody, so I kind of tagged along. For Gundog magazine. My main gig is freelance photographer, videographer. I did Wild Upland for the first 3 seasons. I'm not doing it anymore as of now, but I was there at the inception and shot the first 3 seasons, and it was crazy cool. What a cool opportunity, and brought me to places that a lot of people don't even know exist. Met awesome folks, so yeah, that was a blessing. And then now just freelance photo, video, writing, and anything else that pays the bills.
As far as photo and video goes, what do you like? What do you like better, taking pictures or taking video?
Photos. I'm a photo guy. I've always been a stills guy. I love video, but I'm no editor like some of these dudes. And I totally enjoy video, but there's something about freezing a frame in time, and having that is pretty special in my opinion. My main space is outdoors, obviously, a lot in the marine sector. Do a lot of OEM boat manufacturers, and, marine supplies and equipment, some clothing stuff. But being in Florida, we're on the water a lot.
Yeah, I bet. And you're a waterfowl hunter, right?
Yes, I am. When it's duck season, we're duck hunting. All the fishing rods go away. So yeah, I haven't been a lifelong duck hunter. I guess you could say a late bloomer. I've been duck hunting now for 12 years, 13 years. Always thought it was cool, but just never really got introduced to it until I was 17 years old. I'm 30 now. But,
that's not bad. That's pretty young.
Yeah.
It was, I think, a good time to get introduced to it.
What's it like down there? I mean, that's so foreign from us. To hunt down there with the gators and everything. Like, does everybody have an airboat? How does that go?
There's a lot of different hunting opportunities in Florida. Yes, there's a lot of marsh and mosquitoes and gators.
Great.
That you can swampland. You can go go hunt, never be found.
Yeah, right.
But then we also, we have the saltwater that we hunt, both east and west coast. and then we have kind of our big water lakes too. So do a lot of layout hunting.
You don't think
Yeah.
about that for
No.
down in Florida doing doing layout boats.
No, it's kind of like in my short time duck hunting, I've seen it totally catch on. So it seems, and it's my by far favorite way to duck hunt. And actually, I got so into it, I've built 10 layout boats, and sold some,
Wow,
and
that's crazy. 10.
yeah. Little side hustle. I happened to stumble into a mold from a buddy of a buddy, and started building some on my downtime, and it's pretty cool. It's hard ass work dealing with fiberglass, but it sure is rewarding, especially when someone sends you a picture of their first redhead or something, or big beautiful strap of birds out of your boat. So
You talking on the salt where you're hunting with the layout boats, or in the big lakes?
both, both. A lot of some of these big Central Florida lakes, freshwater but complete, but and we're shooting, all divers. We're shooting, we have a ton of ringnecks in Florida. I swear we must get the whole wintering population of them, because we get covered up with them. And I personally love shooting them. They're such a sporty bird. Hey, look at that.
You don't
Look at
shoot
that
many.
black
You
duck.
don't shoot many of
It's a
those, though,
beauty.
do you? Huh? That is
No, no,
that
not
was a
many
nice.
of those.
If you were going to shoot your first one, that was a nice one to shoot. That was a beautiful bird.
Yeah. Oh, so cool, man. I really was. Like, that trip is one of my top trips, I gotta say. Just, I love that region, which you guys got up there.
We like it too.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I wish we could have got your drone in the air during that trip. I wish that the weather was more conducive to that. But
I know. We we lost a day, right? Because of the
yeah,
weather,
yeah,
wind.
yeah.
Um,
Pretty typical for us.
Shoot, it's been blowing down here. We got our spring blow going on. Yesterday was the first day I've been able to really get on the water, in like 3 weeks, because it's been blowing a sustained 20.
Now I'm curious,
Uh,
when you have the black duck in your hand, a Maine coastal
yeah,
black duck, and you're used to holding the mottled duck down there, can you notice a
yeah,
difference?
Good question.
yeah, oh yeah. No, definitely. The black duck's a little bit bigger. I'd say 10 to 20% bigger, it seems. Um, and just the color difference is substantial side by side. I mean, you can even see it in the pictures. Um, the mottled duck is just so much more brown. Almost. So I feel like some of these big drakes even almost get like this, like, kind of crimson color to them. Um, but they're not anywhere near as dark as a black duck. You usually see it on some of these forums here in Florida. Like, oh man, every probably 2-3 times a season, someone holds up a picture of a bird and, like, it's a black duck, it's a black duck, and no, it's not a black duck. It was a beautiful model, don't get me wrong, but it
Absolutely.
wasn't a black duck. The only real bird, I mean, I'd say we don't get mallards. We don't get mallards, no black ducks. Really, other than that, I've heard about everything shot down here.
Well, you've got all the weird ducks, right? I mean, you've got
Yes.
the fulvous
Then we
tree
have
duck, the whistling duck, whatever.
the fulvous and the two tree ducks that, you know, that if you want to finish your 41, you got to come down and check those off. Um, and they're a racket to hunt. They're a lot of fun, and I swear they're more like geese than they are ducks. Um, and they're just as loud. You can hear them whistling from a half mile away, and most of the time just mouth call them, and they'll come and they'll just, slow as can be, just glide down into you. And half the time you'll drop a couple out of a flock, and then they'll spin around and come want to sit back down again.
So talk to me about dogs in Florida.
I personally don't have a dog. It's not that I don't want a dog, but Gators number one. That's the biggest worry, obviously, of any duck hunter in Florida. But and I have plenty of friends that do run dogs, but it's it's a sketchy game, man. I don't know. I can't bring myself to do it, at least as of right now. The few places you can really, I'd comfortably feel hunting them are, say a couple of those permitted hunts that, I may only get to hunt once or twice a season. And that's not fair to that dog.
So when you get up in the morning whether you're going to go dogless or not. Yeah, yeah,
yeah, yeah, no doubt. I mean, and shoot, majority of the time, we do, wader hunt a decent bit, but we do boat hunt a good bit as well. Which I don't know. I'm born and raised down here. Gators are kind of, just whatever.
As long as they stay over there, is that it?
Yeah, yeah. As long as they're not eating my ducks, we can usually we're fine.
What about
But
what about when you're in the layout boat out in the salt water and you they see the shark fins coming around you?
yeah, I've yet to haven't had that happen yet. And to be quite honest with you, I'd probably be more so worried about a gator than a shark, honestly. In my line of work in the photography deal, I find myself bobbing around in the ocean with a underwater camera as boats fly by, taking pictures of them. And I've seen some sharks, but we haven't danced yet, and hopefully never have to.
Yeah, I'm glad we're in Maine.
Yeah, I don't think
Right.
snakes and gators and sharks. No.
Right.
No.
Yeah, it's one heck of a way to grow up, that's for sure.
So a guy that builds his own boats, does that mean you're into the old school stuff, or do you like new technology? I mean, obviously, cameras, you're into the new technology, but what about when it comes to your waterfowling gear?
I'm torn there. I love, some of the latest greatest wader technology and jackets and stuff like that. And don't get me wrong, it's awesome, but there is something to be said just about that old school OG duck hunting gear, wax canvas and old herder 72 decoys and what Remington Model 12s and just super old cool stuff like that. I've got a total respect for, and I find myself gravitating towards them more and more. Hunting over hand carved decoys when I can pick them up here and there from folks, and just the heritage there. I love the history behind it. I do actually have. I've got a 1957 Herder's Duck Goose sneak boat that I redid, found from a guy off Marketplace for $300, and totally redid it. And it was super cool. I was sanding the boat to paint it, and I sanded it down, and there was the original New Jersey um, registration numbers on it underneath. And it was just super cool to see that. I'm assuming those were from 57. So yeah, I hunt out of that little thing. I got a little 6.5 horse backwater longtail on it, and that's just I love just solo me out of that thing. Is a lot of fun to go bump around the Martian. So that, and then I'm guilty of again Marketplace. I came across a 1961 Barnegat Bay sneak box.
That's a
It was
classic.
built by built by Gus Heinrich, and it was from an old fella. He was, I guess, the mayor up there on the bay, and he had Gus build him that boat in '61, and then Gus Jr. refinished it in like '82, and it sat in his storage facility. Like since then, he moved to Florida and brought it to another storage facility, and I picked it up from him. And I mean, it's got the original oars. It's got like I guess you call it an ice pick, and it's got the copper rails on the bottom to slide across the ice. And I just think that stuff's super cool. I wish I could go back and for a day and hunt like that.
There it is.
That's good.
Pretty happy day. That was a fun day.
That's a good bag.
And Brad let you shoot a few.
Yeah. Yeah.
So that was up here as well.
Yeah, same trip.
Yeah.
It was in that we call Bufflehead Alley, where we shoot at the land preservation folks across the way there.
Yeah, whatever.
In their morning
The
hikes.
morning hikes.
Yeah, they're fine.
Called multi-use.
Do you?
Yeah,
you
that's
don't.
it.
You
That's
don't.
right.
You don't get
That's
buffleheads either. You don't get. What do you get for what we call sea duck or a diver duck? What do you get?
Yes, we do. We do get buffleheads.
You do?
A lot on the West Coast, and actually, I went over and chased them a handful of times this past season out of the layout boats, and we had some pretty awesome hunts. We get scoters. We get a decent amount of blacks. Never seen an eider. I've never personally killed one, but I know a couple guys that have killed some golden eyes. But I mean, and as far as divers go, we get pretty much every diver species. That fires me up because I'm definitely a diver guy.
Now, do you take a lot of pictures and videos of your own hunts, or no? That's just because that's work.
Yeah, it's a weird situation because it's like, man, I want to go out and hunt for myself. I'm not working. Like I want to go out and enjoy the moment and not have to worry about a camera in my hands. But then I go out and bring it, and get some awesome photos or video or whatever, and I'm like, well, damn, I'm glad I brought it.
Right. Well, you have to bring it because
so-
you never know. If you don't bring it, that's when you're going to see something. You're like, damn it, I wish I would have had the camera.
Yeah, and I'm like, I'm jonesing. We only get 60 days this season, so I'm like, I want to hunt, but at the same time, being able to capture, something incredible like that is, and you got it forever, instead of just burning to your memory.
Well, as a professional, you could make that money shot too. You don't, right? I mean, you don't know.
Yeah. That is the
Yeah.
thing too. So many times, I've brought out the camera and, it's photos have turned into cover shots, and I've sold here and there and everywhere and used for articles. So it's definitely beneficial, but I will say I'm guilty sometimes that I'm like, I don't want anything. Half the time I'll just go by myself. I just want to go by myself, no camera, no nothing, quiet in the marsh, waiting for gators.
And you never know what you're going to see. I mean, you literally never know. Have you gotten any interesting, unusual favorite shots?
I would say this is on the fishing side of things, actually. And it was just recently. Was on a shoot for Hook Clothing down in the Everglades for the launch of a new line that they had, and we were tarpon fishing, fly fishing for tarpon, and I got this jump shot. It was actually of my buddy of this big tarpon jumping, and it's freeze frame of this fish jumping in front of him, and it's like completely horizontal to the horizon or parallel to the horizon, and just water everywhere, just the perfect specimen of a tarpon jump. And it's one worth framing. But on the waterfowl side of things, one of my favorites actually is a photo from that Maine hunt. Was what is Ron's black lab,
Bailey.
Bailey, yeah, carrying a bufflehead up onto the rock. And like the beautiful golden light, in the morning hitting her was just like, I don't know. I want to hang that picture on my wall.
So talk to me about videography. Talk to me about these guys. I mean, I bought what did I buy?
I don't even know what you bought.
I
Yeah,
bought
well,
a-
some sort of a knockoff GoPro.
Yeah,
He's got an action camera.
action camera. Thank you.
Right.
And all the gear, and I can wear that, and I've got double batteries and all that stuff. I mean, everybody doing that now? Is that the thing?
The world of social media nowadays, it sure seems like it. If you don't have a YouTube channel, you're doing something wrong.
If somebody wants to start to capture their hunts, whether they think just for their own personal use, show to their buddies, or post on their social media, I mean, where should you start? Should you just go with your phone? Should you get a GoPro? Should you get a digital camera? I mean, as a professional, what do you think? What's the most versatile? Where should you start?
A mentor of mine, told me when I just started, said, the best camera is the camera on you. So, everyone's pretty much got an iPhone in their pocket nowadays, and they've gotten so good that, it's not good for guys like me trying to make a living, really. um, but, yeah, man, really, you can do so much with your phone. Um, that it almost, for the everyday guy who just wants to capture, his hunts and stuff for himself, or even for social media, and YouTube. Shoot, I've shot covers with an iPhone before, cover a magazine with an iPhone. And it printed just fine, just justifying that it's plenty sufficient. Your iPhone, I really think the biggest thing is the fundamentals and composition of the photo or video, more so photo on the composition side of things, but video as well. Just paying attention to the shot. It's easy to hold up your phone and just click. But there's kind of a handful of things that I try to help buddies with and say, hey, just pay attention to this, look for this, because they're always asking, oh man, how can I make this picture better? Yada yada.
Light, perspective, backdrop, all that stuff, right?
One of the biggest ones is your horizon level. Keeping, whether you're holding your phone like this or holding it like this, keeping your level horizon in the background is big. That's just one thing I always notice. Lighting is everything when it comes to photography. And someone shoot a picture and the sun will be right behind them, and they're so silhouetted that you can't even see the duck they're holding up or something, whatever. But when you notice that, hey, take 2 steps to your left, and half the time that'll be plenty and will light you up.
You don't have to have it directly
But
behind you, then, is what you're saying, as the photographer, just so
y-
it's not in front of you, right?
from a professional standpoint, we will manipulate that light for certain photos, and certain looks. But just for, if you're going out and you want to take a nice picture of your kid with a duck or something like that, you want light on your subject. But then, on the flip side of things, the reason why I don't say always turn straight with the sun to the photographer's back is because if the sun's any bit low, then you're going to have the shadow. Your shadow is going to be projected onto your subject. So then you get a picture of a guy holding a duck and your shadow's all over him and you can't see.
I've done that before too, and then you look at the
Yeah.
picture, you're like, oh, that's a perfect outline of me holding the camera.
Yeah. So if you just turn yourself a little bit, to where you can recognize, all right, my shadow's not on the subject, then you're good. You're in the green there. But then also the flash is a great tool that people don't often use, even in the daylight. So it can work a couple different ways. If you do have to shoot backlit, is what it's called, looking into the sun, turn on your flash, and that will light your subject. but that light will still be behind them, and it's called a fill flash. So you won't have that, harsh silhouette. Your subject will be lit. Also, for another, in another circumstances, when that sun is high, a majority of the time we're wearing hats, and you get this hard shadow right here, from the bill of your hat when the sun's above you. And take the picture with the flash on your phone, and it'll light up your face. You'll lose that flash, or you'll lose that shadow from your hat.
Huh. How about that? I didn't even think about that, right? Yeah.
I never avoided that.
So just little stuff like that um, is really like just in the moment, quick. Oh, hang on, let me even my phone out. The horizon's straight. You know what I mean? I'll take 2 steps this way. That can bring that picture to the next level, or video to the next level.
That stuff comes to you naturally, though. You like we breathe. You do that naturally. You know. Yeah. I mean.
Yeah. No doubt. It's like one of those things that I tell my buddies, like it almost make it a little checklist, in their head when they're going to do that.
As far as video goes, say you wanted to video the action. Do you want to set up a camera over your decoy spread and hopefully capture yourself killing something? It always seems like everybody's too far away from what you see on YouTube and stuff. I mean, is it just the parallax of the camera? You really got to be right on top of your subject, or what?
When it comes to guys filming their own hunts, typically it's with a GoPro, and GoPros are awesome and they totally have their place. And the ease of use is hard to beat. You click the button, it turns on and starts recording. And you can obviously put them places that big cameras can't go, but they are a very wide angle lens, which, it works twofold, because then, you can see yourself in the blind and everything, that when you're, real brushed in and stuff like that, then that wide angle makes those decoys look like they're, 100 yards out there, and looks like you're sky blasting these birds, in the next county when you're really not. And that's when you get your YouTube comments, guys, oh man, he's sky busting, blah blah blah. When I've seen it, it's like, you're really not. But yeah, that's typically what you see, and really the only way to overcome that is another camera, with some focal range. And that, typically requires another hand, or diving into typically a traditional um, style, camera, like there's a slew of Canon, Nikon, Sony nowadays, but that's just obviously that's another step up from the GoPro as far as ease of use goes.
So step into drone usage.
Oh, drone usage.
Tom's our drone expert.
Yeah.
Tom is our droner.
yeah,
He's our drone.
I've been using a drone for a few years, just for scouting. I fly on Sunday to hunt on Monday. Because we don't hunt here on Sundays, so that's the easiest thing. Nobody's going to be messing with the ducks, but technically you can fly the same day that you hunt small game, right? I mean,
it seems that every state is different, but like as far as in Florida, it's illegal to, fly. They say any time to scout and, pursue wild game, it's illegal.
To scout, or
so
what do you mean, the same day?
Yeah.
Or what do you mean? Or you can't scout with a drone? What is that?
That's when you read the legislation, it says to scout, so there's a weird gray area there that, like, from my talks with FWC, who is our game wardens, and just other various people in the industry, can't really get a straight answer, to be honest with you. So it just kind of seems that it's a blanketed no-go. Again, there's some gray area, and at least in the waterfowl world, so it seems, where a lot of people want to, they say, well, I'm not necessarily scouting for birds. I'm more so just, checking if an area has water, or, just looking at the geography of an area. Um, hey, and if there's ducks there, I guess there's ducks there, and it's legally, I, I guess you're scouting at that point. But it's definitely on our management areas, it's a no go at all.
Well, in Maine anyway.
But
In Maine, there's no
not yet.
law
No.
outside the federal regulations about flying and hunting big game. So, I mean, how could they?
Yeah.
I mean, you can fly a drone recreationally to take photos of
yeah, and
landscape or whatever you want, or for your wedding, or
exactly. And it's like, how are they going to argue that? How do they, you just flying, getting a beautiful scenic shot. And we would do that a lot. Like when we filmed the TV show, um, we would, not on days we hunted or anything like that, but would just go out on our own, um, to public areas where you were legally allowed to fly, um, and would just get those nice, beautiful scenic shots. Yeah, that's awesome that you guys are able to fly there. Maine hasn't you know gotten so strict on it, and hopefully they don't.
well, then you wouldn't have been able to
You know,
drone during the hunt or whatever to see the decoy spread, and and the boats going out and stuff like that. I mean, that's all part of the production.
exactly, and that those shots, totally, you're never getting that perspective any other way. And in those circumstances, it's like, especially with waterfowling, it's like, are you, if you're set up, you got your spread right there, and you launch it out of the blind, and yeah, you're filming the decoy spread and everything. Like, you're not scouting, you're not harassing wildlife.
I've always avoided bringing it on a hunt, even though there's sometimes when you're like, what are they seeing? When the birds
Yeah.
are flaring, and you're like, what are they? I bet if I got up in a drone right now, I would see,
I'd see what they see.
yeah, what they see, and it'd be like obvious.
You'd see Howard's
Yeah.
right at the end of the blind.
And I think technically that it would be legal in Maine, but I don't want to be accused of flying and rallying ducks someplace, because rallying is rallying, whatever the method of doing it, really.
Yeah, no doubt. Yeah, like you say, you you put it up there and you realize, damn, my hide is terrible. No wonder they're flaring, 80 yards out.
Yeah, I mean, that's really what I want to use it for, but I just don't dare to bring it on the hunt.
If you have it, hey, if you're not caught in the act with it, if you got it in the case, say on the hunt, I don't know how they could really, really stick you with it. But I don't know. Like I said, it's a weird situation, and my line of work, with as far as the hunting goes, that I personally don't think, as far as waterfowl goes, um, it's it's that big of a deal as far as these big game hunters, where they're putting them over a mountain range and picking out an elk that's a mile and a half away, and then go chase that animal down. I totally understand the legality of that. um, but shoot, I've heard waterfowlers argue, about the sake of, using it when scouting and checking just these areas, that, hey, I'm less obtrusive on these animals. I'm not bumping them out of their spot, and pressuring them in a boat, or walking in, on these areas. I'm flying, 700-800 feet above them. They don't even know I'm there.
I go for 60. I go for 60 feet because I've
hey, some of these new drones got some good zoom.
I only have 3x zoom, so I'm 60 feet.
Yeah.
60 feet actually is enough to get them to move, so you can kind of see them. They'll come out of the weeds, but it's not low enough to scare them away.
I think certainly the way you use that on a Sunday, non-hunting day, I mean, you're not bumping game, you're not harassing anything, you're just utilizing it as a tool.
Right.
Yeah,
And I want to see exactly where they are. I don't want to paddle a mile down that stream and then
you
push
bust,
them and then
bust them on a
push them
Sunday.
up.
They're not there on a Monday.
Right. Yeah. They're not going to come back.
Exactly.
We have a lighthouse in Maine, very iconic down in Portland, called the Portland Headlight. And I've seen 1,000 pictures of it, maybe more. And recently I saw a drone picture taken offshore at this lighthouse toward the shore, and it was jaw dropping. I
Never had seen it before.
And
like
not from that
No.
perspective.
No.
And, a lighthouse from above, from the ocean. Oh, it was to die for. It's the best photograph I've ever seen.
The Maine, as far as the drone goes, the DJI brand, they're have the stronghold on the market. There's a couple others, but pretty much anything they make, is plenty sufficient for what what you're looking to do. You'd be surprised how many I've seen the little tiny DJI Mini that's 249 grams. I've seen that used in some of these, Yeti films that you see that are like ridiculously cinematic, high level videos, and you never know.
Well, while we're talking about video, back to the smartphones. I mean, there's a lot of settings that you can change on your phone. I mean, besides the factory defaults. I mean, when you get into that menu, are there things that you should change? Resolution and stuff like that. If you want to take action shots, whether for photographs or video.
So for video, definitely, pretty much the standard is 4K, and 30 frames per second. That's pretty much the standard across the board, nowadays for YouTube and everything. And up in the top right, just in your camera app, you can go up there and click it, and it'll give you an option, of 30 frames a second, 60 frames a second, which is a little bit of, slow mode, slow down, half speed. And then there's 120 frames a second, which is, real slow motion. But just, filming your typical stuff, 4K 30 there. If you want to get crazy and do some of those cool slow motion shots, they're pretty sweet. Don't get me wrong. Um, but you don't want your whole day filmed like that.
A lot of phones will come just by default, just 1080p, just HD, just to probably save the memory in your phone. So you may have to switch it to 4K from your factory settings.
Yeah, that is typically what it does come in. And right when you open your camera, at least on the iPhone, I've got the 16, and you go right up to the corner, and you'll see it right there. It'll say 4K 30, slash 30, or 4K slash 60, or HD slash 30, which is HD is 1080p.
What about settings for just taking still photos with your smartphone?
In the camera app, automatic there, don't really have to do much. But for the video as well as the photos, the majority of phones now have 2 to 3 cameras on them, at different focal ranges. Like, my phone has a wide angle, a standard, and then a zoom, so you can get those different, even with your phones, you could set up a little phone tripod now, say in the blind, and put it on that wide angle setting, and you can see everything in the blind. You're totally good. But then, hey, if you want to film your dog, making a retrieve out in the decoys, pick it up, click it over to that zoom. You'll have some reach there as far as vocal range to get your dog retrieving. But what I was saying was, they're right there on the screen, as far as on an iPhone, where to change them. They're right there on the screen. It'll say 0.5, 1x, and then I believe the other is 3x. And it's just so easy to, kind of like what you were talking about before with, you get that super big wide shot. Even just your phone right there, boom, you can click to that other setting, and switch your zoom up a little bit.
Being an outdoor videographer, photographer. You must have been on some pretty cool hunts or some adventures anyway.
One sticks out in my head. It's crazy. I was what was I? I was 17, I believe. And from where I'm at, I live in Stewart, on the east coast of Florida. It's about a 3.5 hour drive down to Isla Mirada. And at the time, I had a little Gnu boat. If you're familiar with those, it's essentially just a flat back canoe. And I had a 10-horse Honda on it, and I was mad at the world trying to catch every fish that swims. And so me and Island Mirada ties in because me and my buddy decided, hey, let's get up at 2 in the morning and drive down to Island Mirada and make a day trip of it and go fishing out in Florida Bay. And my buddy, another buddy, brought his boat down, and we met down there, crack crack of dawn, early in the dark, and ran out into Florida Bay, which is a huge, huge area. If you look on the map of Florida, Florida Bay is pretty much extends from the bottom of the mainland of the state down, damn near to Key West of the Keys, as it snakes down all the way. And that's all Everglades National Park. But so we got down there, and I'm in my little boat, and we're loaded down with everything and a cooler and the troll motor on it and everything. And mind you, this boat weighs all of 120 pounds, and there's two of us in it with 400 pounds of shit. And we shot we ran like 12 miles out in the Florida Bay to some of these mangroves islands out there, and snook and catching snook and redfish. And typical Florida mid-morning storm comes in, and it wasn't too bad, but just decided, hey, let's jump across this basin and try to just get away from it, run a mile over there. It was a small cell. And we were crossing these deep basins, which, they can be 10, 12 feet deep, in between the banks in these islands. And I wasn't, the wind was blowing from the storm, and the swell, it kicked up in this basin in this deeper water, but I wasn't pounding straight into it or anything. I was kind of in the trough, just rolling with it. And I'm standing up. This was a tiller boat. This was a tiller motor. And I'm standing up and running it, and come down off this wave, and I hear just this crack noise, and I thought it was just the paddle bouncing on the floor of the boat. And I look down in between my legs, and there's a crack all the way across from pretty much gunnel to gunnel of this
Sounds pretty familiar.
Yeah.
dead in between my legs. And my GPS was my phone with the Navionics app on it. And I was like, oh boy, I handed my buddy my phone, and I said, dude, tell me where to go. Like, I'm not stopping until I run this boat into the boat ramp. Let's see if we can make it back. And I pulled the plug out, and the crack just kept getting bigger rapidly. And within 30 seconds, we were sinking. And luckily, out in this basin, there was just this random sandbar, that was probably, 10, 12 inches deep. And I just ran the boat dead up onto this bar. And at that point, the fuel tank's floating, everything, the cooler's floating, everything,
Yeah.
and we're getting rained on. We're sitting out on this sandbar, out in the middle of Florida Bay with barely any cell service. Luckily got a hold of my buddy, and we had to throw my motor, all of our stuff into his boat, which was luckily a little bit bigger, and all of us, and then had to tow my little Gnu back to the ramp 12 miles.
Oh man,
But it was just
we've all
one of
got.
those ones. So
Sounds like a job for Gator Patch.
That's right. We've all got stories like that.
yeah, I guess I had to have one of those.
Of course.
So
You said you're all done doing the wild uplands videography work. Would you do that again?
yes, I totally would do that again. I mean, it was so cool. What an experience. The places that it took us, places that most people don't even know exist. And some of the stuff that we got to see, and just the country. We spent a lot of time out west, from Washington to shoot. We did an episode up there on what was it? Eagle Lake in Maine,
Yes, you
grouse
did.
hunting.
Yeah. If you want to do a
Yep, we
real
did
grouse,
that.
let us know if you want to do a real grouse hunt.
Yeah.
It's hard to film something that's not there, isn't it, Brenton?
It makes for a long 3 days of filming for sure.
I bet.
A lot of hiking and busting brush, but yeah, the places, it took. We hunted down in Arizona. I mean, on the border, we could see from our lodge, we could see the border. We actually walked across the border and got lunch one day. Like it, you know, crazy cool places like that, and hunted a bunch of quail, and just it totally, opened my eyes to a lot of country that I've never seen before. And I would definitely, some days we would be, I'd check my watch at the end of the day, and it'd be like a 12-mile hike, and it was like 144 flights of stairs that I climbed. It said, um, just up and down, walking these ridges for chucker, and ptarmigan, and grouse, and all these different kind of species. Which that side of the upland side of the game, I've never really experienced before that. But the most special part of it all was, and the whole premise behind the show was, it was presented by Gundog magazine, and it was all about the dogs. And it was just so cool seeing that dog work across the board, from so many different species, so many different breeds of dog, how they just all work differently, and to their specific region and species of bird hunted. Um, that was very, very cool and eye opening for sure. Really made me want a dog.
Oh, right. Yeah.
I was, I grew up with a dog. We always had at least one dog, my whole life. And, it kind of kills me that I don't have one now. But, just between the Gators and the work travel, it's it's a lot. My kids are like, "Come on, man,
Yeah.
get a dog
Yeah.
already.
Right.
Let's go."
Now, because you've seen so many different terrains for bird hunters, I mean, if there's somebody who just likes to hunt birds and has a dog or many dogs, is there any that you would say should go on their bucket list that you experienced?
From the waterfowl side of things, just hunts that really stuck out. Um, that I think any waterfowler should go check out, and definitely bring their dog along. Um, was the Great Salt Lake in Utah. That just that hunt there, I didn't realize the um diversity that they had there. Um, we filmed an episode the first season with, what is it, Chad, who's the I can't recall his last name at the moment. Bill, you may know him. He's the regional director for Utah.
Utah's regional director. And you did that.
For DU.
And Steve from Camp Chef was with you on that episode.
Yep,
well,
exactly.
he was late arriving, but his son had the permit for swan.
Yes,
Swan.
for the
Okay.
swan.
Okay.
Yep.
Yeah.
So he pulled a swan tag, and we did the mud boats one evening. We pulled him over a levee and got into this spot and hunted over 60 swan floaters, which was pretty ridiculous because it was a 20-foot mud boat with a mountain full of swan decoys in it. Never seen anything like that.
What are they? Are they plastic? Were they plastic or what?
Yeah. I mean, they're
Yeah.
essentially, they're
Big-
like a
big goose
goose floater,
decoy.
but it's a
Huh.
swan.
I couldn't believe
mean,
the work you put into getting those boats over the top of those levees.
They put you know, giant stakes into the ground that are permanently mounted. I guess you could. I mean, there were
Yeah.
telephone poles pretty much, and
Yeah.
then you had the PVC you laid down, and you had the winch on the front of the boat to winch them over, and the boat would roll on the PVC.
Reminded me of
over
the guys going
or-
across the west in the wagons, Holy
Yeah,
smokes.
yeah. No, I mean, it's
You really
not for the
wanted to
faint
get
of
in
heart.
there. You really wanted to be there.
Yeah. Oh no, that was for sure. And I tell you what, it didn't disappoint. And seeing those guys mouth call swans from like, oh my God, like you could like barely see them. They're looking at them in the binoculars, and they're like, all right, there's birds on the horizon, and they start mouth calling, and it's like, a bigger Canada goose just on a string, ready to just dump it in there, sailing from 500 yards away. It was crazy to see, but we did yeah, I did that, and then did the airboats the following day, and we had the wrong wind for the typical Salt Lake hunt, out of coffin boxes, sitting in the silhouettes shooting the green wings. um but we went up into the Mighty Marsh there in the airboats, and I never realized that they had a marsh like that. And we shot, I mean, a handful of species, bunch of greenheads. What did we shoot? Shoot gadwall. We shot a hen cinnamon teal. We shot, what did we shoot? Pintail. We did shoot some green wing teal. We shot a handful of different species um, up in the marsh there.
Steve's son never did get his swan. What, he permit expired, or they shot him out, or what? How does that work?
Yeah, so I guess with that tag, you have to pull a tag for those tundra swans, and they have a trumpeter swan or trumpet swan that migrates with them, and they're damn near identical, especially on the wing.
Hmm.
That they have a quota for. So every swan shot, your tag, you have to bring to the DNR office, and for them to do their testing on, etc. And there's a quota limit on the trumpet swans that people end up shooting thinking that they're tundra swans, and you're not fined for it or anything, from my understanding. But once that quota limit, like, they allow 50 trumpeters taken for the 500 tags given for tundras per se. And once that quota is met, the whole season gets shut down. Whether all the tundra tags are full or
Oh, really?
not. Yeah. So that
Huh.
evening, go figure. Didn't get it that evening. We were planning on heading out that next morning to get on them again, and we get the call that, oh, the quota was filled today and season's now closed. So
Oh, he
like,
must have
damn
been
it,
heartbroken. Oh, man.
bad, right? Oh,
oh,
God.
such a bummer. And I think it was his third or fourth year applying.
Good conservation lesson learned.
Yeah,
They're endangered
hey,
species. You got to protect them somehow.
Right.
And they
Yeah.
don't. I'm surprised they allow 50 collateral damage, but
They
obviously
I don't know
do.
exactly what it
Yeah.
is. I don't know the number exactly.
Right.
Right.
I'm sure none of those are easy for you as a videographer or photographer. None of that's easy. You know,
Yeah, you're always laying in the
You're
mud
always- yeah.
or whatever. Some shit,
Oh, yeah.
right?
Yeah, no, definitely. Always find my way into some mess. Yeah, whether in the mud or hiking through snow or all this stuff. But it's like the juice is typically worth the squeeze, I will say. It's you get out what you put in, and those typically make for the badass shots. So yeah, I found myself a couple times, like it wasn't for wild upland, but on a hunt that I was just filming, just absolutely glued in mud in South Louisiana, down down in a flooded rice field, that like I had to get out of my waders because my waders were stuck in the mud so bad. So then I was just covered in mud and basically, army crawled my way out of this flooded field mess. But it was fun. Another memory to add with the cracked Ginu in half.
Just keep adding to the memories, man. That's what we do. Right?
Exactly.
After we met Callie and took her sea duck hunting, we were all big fans of that TV show.
Yeah.
Thank you. Appreciate that. I really,
I remember you
I
snipe.
really enjoyed.
You had a teal/snipe hunt.
That was right here in my backyard.
Was it?
That's shoot where we were snipe hunting. It's all of 20 minutes from here, and that's as far as the upland game goes, that's as close as we really get to wild upland species, actual wild species. Pretty much our bobwhite quail wild population is gone, and you can still go hunt some pen raised birds. But as far as wild birds go, if you want an upland sport, it's going to be snipe hunting. And I'm glad other people appreciated it, because I don't think a lot of people realize even what a snipe is. It's that old wise tale
Right. Yeah.
snipe hunting joke, and like, no, it's actually it's a Wilson snipe, and it's a real bird.
It's a real thing.
So,
That's right.
yeah.
Well,
But,
obviously, we've been loving your work, man. We've, as they were talking about with the TV show and everything, and looking forward to seeing more of it. And
I'm very thankful, very fortunate that I've got to somehow convince people to pay me to do this.
You're good.
I've somehow, weaseled my way in here. Now, it's very, very fortunate, and
Brad and I
Yeah.
have had some limited experience. We've done a few TV shows
Yeah.
through the years. And I got to tell you, when we sit around after the hunt and talk about it and wonder if we were even being filmed, I knew that you'd done your job.
Right.
You weren't in the way. You weren't asking me to make birds magically appear. You took what was available to you and you made something out of it. I appreciate that.
being an outdoorsman, being able to jump into it with a camera, helps, in our industry so much. I saw that DU episode you guys did. That was killer. It was so cool. Really enjoyed that. And yeah, you could tell those guys, they knew what they were doing.
Yeah.
So
It just makes it
a big
easy because
difference.
you're trying to provide opportunity for the hunters. I'm not worried about providing opportunity for your camera. So, you're
Yeah.
kind of doubling up the duty here, but I appreciate the fact that it happens and I didn't realize it was going on.
I've heard it said many times from an old fishing guide buddy of mine. His saying is, "I'm a guide, not God." Guide, not God. I can do what I can do, man.
That's
right.
That's right.
That is true.
Hopefully, you'll keep in touch. Hopefully, we'll see you again. Maybe up in here, maybe up this way again. That would be great.
My wife, it's a tie for the number one place to go is Maine or Greece. And I said, hey, well, Maine's a little more obtainable. Can we make this work for now? You know, is that good enough?
Just come to Maine. Just come to Maine and go to a house of pizza,
That's
and
right.
then you've covered both.
Yeah, right. But no, I'll be back up there soon. I think with her, hopefully, and I've got her with the waterfowl bug now.
I was going to say, women want to come this summer.
yeah.
No, we don't come. No, there's
Yeah.
nothing to do up here in the summer. You got to come in the fall.
No, in the fall, she wants to see the leaves and she wants to shoot sea ducks. So I'm like, well, hey, I might know a guy up there, a guy or two that
You
could
might.
maybe point us in the right direction.
You
Right,
might.
I think probably.
You might.
I think probably.
Yeah, so maybe try to sling that this fall or something. I don't know. We'll see. But
That'd be great. Well, thanks so much
Yeah.
for
Man, I appreciate your time,
yeah.
Brent.
Thanks
I
for
can't
spending
tell
time
you.
with us. This is great. You're our first
yeah,
guest.
guys,
Yeah.
oh,
Yeah.
well, thank you. I'm honored. Yeah, thanks for allowing a bum like
Oh,
me
no.
to join in on the fun, man.
No,
That was super cool.
No.
I enjoy listening.
Well, thanks, Brenton.
Brent, thanks, man.
And
Yeah, guys.
yeah, man, have fun. Stay safe out there. We appreciate it.
Thank you.
Quack.